Okay.
Truly
Thank you, sir.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay.
Board, let's jump to standards and assessment. We're going to turn time over to Chair Earl. Yeah, sorry, that's agenda item 7 for the public and the board if we're because we have been jumping around quite a bit today. So again, Chair Earl.
Thank you. We have a couple of items coming out of standards and assessment. The first one is item number 4, which is our CTE, the FACS, which is, what does that stand for? It's our exploration course, and we held on one course, and last month we made some amendments to that. We asked for some revisions to it, and our staff members went out to the field. They got some feedback. They took feedback from the board members from December, and that's what we have coming before us. I don't have a knowledge of any amendments, but if there are some, maybe there's some out there. I just don't have any knowledge of that. So the motion before the board is that the board approve the CTE course FACS, FCS, Exploration Course, Standards, Draft 3.
Thank you. The motion before the board is that the board approve the CTE course FCS Exploration Course Standards Draft 3. We have Member Bollinger. Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question maybe directed more to staff than to the maker of the motion. Just curious, is this one of the courses that is funded with the CCA funds? CTC? Okay, it's not. No, that's fine.
Does that answer your question? It sure does. Okay. So again, the motion before the board. Well, Member Earl, you want to speak? Okay, the motion before the board is that the board approve the CTE course, FCS Exploration Course, Standards Draft 3. Let's go ahead and vote.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you. That passes 13 in favor, 1 in opposition, and 1 absent. Member Boggess in opposition, Member Reel absent. Chair Earl.
Yes, thank you. The next item we will actually be holding until March. We think there might be some legislation maybe related to surveys. We're just kind of holding on to that. So that'll be coming before us. We've got a little bit more time for that. So just making you aware of that. And then the next motion before the board, and I do have an amendment for this. We had a little bit of a structural thing, but let me put this before the board and then I'll make the amendment for that. So it's, I went too far. Sorry.
Let's get the motion out and then we'll amend it. Yeah.
That's what I was going to do.
Oh, perfect.
That the board approves R277704 Financial and Economic Literacy Integration into Core Curriculum Draft 2 on second and final reading. And then
Okay, so that's the motion before the board.
That is
Chair
the motion.
Earl, go ahead.
And then there is the amendment is this. When we structured it, we ended up making it a 4, an IV, right? But it actually needs to be a C, a separate. So let me just, and then also, well, let me read the amendment and then I can get a second and then speak to it. So it's to insert on line 94 a C, and then it would say include financial and economic literacy concepts required by subsection 53E 35005 1B and the success sequence principles in course standards development. I've had a second.
And before we get there,
Mm-hmm.
are we still, you read part 2, but is 1 still
Oh yeah,
applicable?
sorry, my
Strike.
apologies, strike line 93.
Oh, perfect. Do we have a second? Second to that. Go ahead and speak
Yeah,
to
and
that.
I'll speak to that. We did add in the success sequence principles, but it needed to be under a not a 4 because it was under data collection, which isn't where it needs to be. It just needs to be under one of the principles. The other item added here is there's a list in the code of the things that need to be included. We felt that needed to be part of what the task force was looking at. Make sure that list is included in that. So that's the 2 provisions there. So.
Thank you, Chair Earl. So the motion before the board is that the board amend draft 2 to strike line 93 and insert after line 94, C, include financial and economic literacy concepts required by subsection 53E-3-505, section 1B, and the success sequence principles in course standards development. Member Bogus.
So I'm looking this up right now, but could someone define for me economic literacy? Is it in the code?
I see a head nod. I don't.
Is it defined in code?
While somebody is looking that up, can we go to Member Davis, or do you have a follow?
No, that's fine. I just don't understand what that would be.
Sure. Let's get some questions there, and then. Oh, we have it. Okay, we have an answer to that. So, please come forward and respond.
Good afternoon, Talia Longhurst, Director of Career and Technical Education. Statute defines it as, well, they define the concepts. So in 53E-3505 1B, financial and economic literacy concepts include, and there is a long list there, which includes economic systems. There's a couple of bits of detail and description there, but it is 22 lines long of what those concepts that must be included in that course consist of. I'd be happy to read them if you'd like me to.
Thank you. Does that answer your question, Member Bogus? Yeah. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you. It looks like we have Member Davis and then Member Kelly.
Oh, I was asking Vice Chair Earl, and probably shouldn't have done this beforehand, but I am thinking that when it says we're going to add the success sequence principles in the course standards development, and I think in any case like that, it's best to put the principles themselves and not write the words success sequence, because those principles may change. Certain types of things might become more economically advantageous, or, you can't always control when you put specific names of things like that in board rule. So if we choose and list the principles of, I agree with the principles, but I think we should list them out.
But we have it defined, success sequence is defined, so it's not.
Yeah, but it
You have a
could change. It could morph over time out there, and then if we refer to it in here, you can do, as you develop it, you can decide, but I just think it's best to list the principles always rather than to say some sort of canned kind of the title, which is my problem with it from the very beginning.
Thank you. I do know that Google never forgets. So if we put success sequence principles according to as defined in 2025, I don't know. I don't have a motion here, and I don't know if you have a motion, Member Davis, or if it's just yeah. So I appreciate that. Member Kelly.
Yeah, I was just going to respond to Member Bogus's question. Generally speaking, financial literacy is going to be more your personal finance concepts, whereas economic literacy is going to be more broader economic concepts, supply and demand, capitalism, things like that. So I think that's just the difference between those two. And then the success sequence, we do have them listed 45 through 49, right? So, but in the standards, I think I disagree. I mean, I actually agree that when you're putting things into the standards, just labeling it, teach students the success sequence isn't specific enough for teachers, because there may be various definitions of success sequence. So if this board sees those three elements as being the success sequence, we should list them in the core standards.
Okay. Thank you. So without any other motions on the floor or presented, the motion before the board is that the board amend draft 2 to strike line 93 and insert line 94, insert after line 94, C, include financial and economic literacy concepts required by subsection 53E-3-505, subsection, or section 1B, and the success sequence principles on course standards development. Member Brinton.
I am just curious, and maybe can I direct this question to staff, Chair? I was wondering about lines 75 to 77, where it talks about making online resources available to teachers for financial and economic literacy education, including modules with interactive activities and turnkey instructor resources. I just wonder if this is a move more to like anybody can teach this, it's an online module, versus teachers who are trained in financial literacy, like Board Member Kelly actually teaching the classes, and I think students learn better with teachers versus just online content. Could you?
Please.
75 to 77.
Thank you for that question. That language, 75 to 77, comes directly from statute.
Okay.
It's something that we're required to do. We have just recently revamped our website, Finance in the Classroom, so that anyone can access those resources. The intent is not to make it just, teacher lists. That's not the intent. But we have a lot of people who use that website to find resources for teaching. Financial literacy is designed to be a K-12 program, and so it's out there for anyone who needs to access it. We actually have a lot of people go to that website from other states who are trying to teach financial literacy as well, but that does come directly, word for word, from statute.
Okay, that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Member Green.
Yeah, this is just maybe a point of clarification. SJR 3 in the 2024 general session was a joint resolution concerning the success sequence. So that just happened last summer. And it actually does spell out what that looks like. 1, completing at least a high school education. 2, obtaining full-time work. And 3, marrying before having children. Whereas. So there is that resolution that actually exists. And we could, if we could have. Okay.
So it sounds like, the definition is in the document. Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah. I
Okay.
didn't realize there was a resolution.
Me
Yeah.
neither.
Thank you. Thank you. Member Lear.
2 points. I thought there was nothing about the success sequence that I liked, and I come to find out that it's also obtaining full-time work, and I'm sure that applies to both men and women, so I really do support that aspect of it. And then the other question I have, just out of curiosity, is what are turnkey, 977, turnkey instructor resources?
Those would be things that people can just plug and play. They're ready to go. They are no preparation necessary.
So interactive activities, and so help me say a little bit more, give me a little more info there.
Well, they would be curriculum maybe available from other websites, vendors, things that people can either access, and I will say many financial literacy resources are available for free. There's a huge movement out there for free resources. You may or may not like the source of them, but there are many, many free resources.
They include videos and
Yes,
that
all
kind
of
of
the
stuff.
above, yeah.
Okay, all right, that helps me, thanks.
Thank you. Member Earl. Oh, okay. Member Bogus.
Thank you, sir. So when I was going through one of my degree programs, Member Lear, they associated turnkey with the terminology teacher-proof. And so it basically implied that it was there, you press next. It doesn't matter who's doing it, the instruction is delivered oftentimes through a technology without a lot of innovation or creativity by a human body. And I don't want to get controversial, but those two words were used almost synonymously in one of my programs. So. Well,
Thank you. That's all right.
no,
We-
I just think that teacher proof is hyperbolic and inflammatory language.
Thank you. We've got Member Brenton and then Member Kelly.
Question, or I'm just wondering if we should link the Senate joint resolution here on lines 45 to 49, and just for ease of somebody looking that up, is that necessary? I didn't know.
I don't see any volunteers. I would say it's not necessary. Ben's shaking his head back there. If you value Ben's opinion, then no. If you value my opinion, then no. But
I'd like to move.
yeah, yeah. Yeah. So anyway, does that answer your question, Member Brenton? Thank you. Member Kelly.
Yeah, I don't know if most in this room know, but this is the subject matter that I teach at American Fork High School. And I actually engaged with Auditor Dougal. We conducted an audit on financial literacy at the 10-year anniversary of the subject. And one of the biggest things that we found lacking for students and student learning was a qualified teacher in the classroom. It's not a subject where you go and get a major to teach the subject. And so a lot of schools will piece it together. We found in our report that we did, we found one school that had 12 different teachers teaching one course, you know, and it was completely ineffective, right? But I know that the staff here at USBE has worked pretty hard with, finance in the classroom to create scenarios where if you have a situation like that, where a school principal's not taking the subject matter seriously and hiring teachers that really, quite frankly, are not qualified to teach the class, there's at least resources that they can turn to and have that available to them. So, yeah.
Very good. And where are we at here? The board approve. All right, the motion's been made. Did we have, help me, where are we at? Oh, I'm sorry, remember yeah. Are we to the vote? Very good. Let's vote, guys. Sorry, is she okay? Is she okay? Okay. All right, the motion is that the board amend draft 2 to strike lines 93 and insert after 94 to include financial and economic literacy concept required by subsection 53E, 3, 305, 1B, and the success sequence principles in course standards development. I just don't know if it was read. Oh, are you good? Okay. And did you want to vote?
Can I hit my yes button?
Yes. That vote passes unanimously. Thank you, all 15 members. All right, are we going to move to?
We're going to keep going. So, from what I understand, Superintendent Dixon is going to be quick. Point of order, what are we at?
Oh, I'm sorry, the
okay.
original motion. All right, thank you very much. And so now the underlying motion is that the board approve R277, 704, financial and economic literacy integration into core curriculum, draft 2 as amended on second and final reading. Let's vote. Yes? Oh, are you?
You have to make it.
So are you wanting to make an Okay, go ahead. And Member Brenton has a motion to make. So, yeah.
It's true, but let me do, because this is for clarity for all board members, and it sounds like Member Brenton wasn't sure. She submitted a vote to staff, and although staff has it ready, the board member still needs to make that motion, right? So it's not an automatic going to be set on the floor. So just a good reminder to all of us that, yeah, get your light and get in the queue. So apologies, we're gonna step back, but Member Brenton.
Okay, I'm sorry. I just wanted to make a motion on line 78. It's just a wording, or is it, no, it was line 70, wasn't it?
Okay.
I'm gonna go catch Scott.
Line 70, what's that? Okay, that the board strike, work with the superintendent to develop on line, I thought it, oh, am I on the wrong, I might be on the wrong draft. On line 78 of draft 2, and insert the word include in its place. It's just a grammar thing. Because in number 2, it says professional development activity shall, and then A is provide information, and B is make online resources, and then C says work with the superintendent. So we're just going to strike that to include so that the grammar is correct.
Okay, to insert include in its place. Okay, is there a second for that motion? Yes. Motion's been made, motion's been seconded by Bogus. Is there any, the motion's been made, seconded. Would you like to speak to your motion?
I think I just did.
Thank you. Is there any comments to that? Nope, seeing none. The motion's been made and seconded that the board strike, quote, work with the superintendent to develop on line 78 of draft 2 and include, insert include in its place. Let's vote. This is voting on the amendment. Who else are we missing? Okay, with Chair, that passes unanimously 14-0 with Chair Hymas not voting. Now we go to the underlying motion. And that motion is that the board approve R277-704, Financial and Economic Literacy, Integration into Core Curriculum, Draft 2 as amended on second and final reading. Please vote. Yeah, just a second. It'll be just a second. No. Are you serious? You're being serious? I was going to vote no, but since the vote isn't up there, I would like to. Okay, well, what is your amendment?
I would move to strike the language work with public, private, and nonprofit entities from line 68.
Okay, hold on. The motion's been made that the board strike, quote, work with public and private entities from line.
It says, it's underlined. It says work with public, private, and nonprofit entities too.
Line number
68.
68. Period. Do we have a second for that motion? Second is from, got her? Okay. Back to the maker of the motion for explanation.
I just don't know why we're calling in all these different people when we have the expertise in our own agency and among our workforce at large to do these things. I think when we start subcontracting and getting all these quasi-government people involved, it gets messy and hairy, and we don't need any more of that in our business. We need simplicity, and I think the original language offers simplicity.
Very good. Calling on Member Earl, please. And then Kelly, and then Carrie.
That is the actual language from the law. I think I had talked with Member Brenton about this as well, but it could be that, if someone wanted to amend it, it's just a suggestion, that's the language from the law. So
Okay.
We struck utilizing the expertise of community and business groups. That could be unstruck and maybe stuck up there following that, right?
Okay.
But that's the language in the law.
Okay, thank you. Member Kelly?
Yeah, I'm going to speak against that motion, and the reason, as I mentioned before, this is a subject matter that there's not a lot of expertise in education concerning. This is no knock on USBE or anything of that nature, but I think superintendent would probably confirm that in a lot of cases we're taking an English person and having them oversee financial literacy, or we're taking a math person and having them oversee, and there's and so what has happened in this subject matter is that we've utilized a lot of experts in the business world, in the banking world, in nonprofit organizations that have helped to train teachers, helped to bring teachers up to speed on the subject matter, and so I've seen this in action in terms of a lot of entities being involved in helping with the bringing the expertise to the teachers teaching it in the classroom.
Sure. Thank you. Member Carey?
Thank you. And if I could just direct this to staff, we just talked about all this information that is out there that is being provided by third-party providers for free. Would this particular language prevent the superintendent and USBE from using that turnkey information? If you can answer that.
Okay. Would you like to answer that, Superintendent?
I will defer to Director Longhurst, but I will say that this financial literacy came from the banking industry. This goes back to Member Kelly's point. It was when the law was enacted. You know, when you get up there, Member Carey, you hang on to a few pieces of history. So I do clearly remember this, brought to us by people interested from the banking industry, financial industry, and Director Longhurst and her staff were every content area that we have in career and technical education, and this includes financial literacy. There's an advisory group made up of people from industry, and they work with staff to keep current materials current. So you can find anything on the internet for sure. But this is a way to feel like there's a collaborative with people right in our own state who feel very passionate about this. So how did I do, Director Longhurst? Anything you'd add?
Do you have anything that you'd like
She's
to add,
trained
Director?
me well.
Okay. Thank you. Very good. Member Bogus?
Thank you, ma'am. So I appreciate Member Kelly's comments, but to me, there's a difference between what he spoke about and the language that's on the board. There's a difference between a banker and a, quote, public, private, or non-profit entity. Those are two, the dichotomy there is very real. So if without objection, I would go ahead and amend my own motion to leave those words there and to add the language that teach financial education to the end of it.
To the end of public and private entities, or?
So it, so it says in draft 2, it says the superintendent shall work with public, private, and nonprofit entities, and then add the language that teach financial education.
Okay, while they're typing it in, I just want to thank the tech folks for this wonderful solution. You have no idea how it changes my life.
You
Our
all
lives.
look more comfortable today, Vice Chair
Yes.
Hart.
Yes.
I have noticed that our chair no longer has a red face or an injured neck.
So, shout out to our tech folks. They are problem solvers. All right, does that reflect your motion? That is
yes.
a motion that the maker of the motion amended herself. Do we have any objection to that? Seeing no objection to that, then that is now the motion. Is a second still a second for that? You'll second it? Okay, so it's made and seconded. Do we have speaking to the motion on this? Member Kelly?
Yeah, in the financial world, private would be a bank, nonprofit would be a credit union, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's really that simple. So we're working a lot with banks and credit unions in this subject matter to gather information, resources, training, and other factors. So
Okay.
nonprofit entities would include your credit unions. Yeah.
I hear an AAG's voice. Oh, okay, thank you. I know that I'm running roughshod over Robert's rules.
Does that still reflect your?
I think that's,
Nonprofit is not my language. Nonprofit is presently in line 68.
We're trying to get clear about what you want with that term.
Well, my understanding is that it's in the code. Somebody said, we can't change this, it's codified.
right.
Public
But-
and private is,
Does it have nonprofit? It does, okay, that's what I
oh, it does.
So what do you want to leave in and what do you want to take out?
Just press Control Z.
It is in it.
teach financial education after entities.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you're typing in what is currently in there, and all she wants to do is add that teach financial education to what's there. There, is that accurate? Okay. And is the second remaining with that? Okay. All right, so the motion is that the board, I've already read it. Yes, hold on. Member Davis, then Member Green, then Member Lear.
I'll speak to the motion because that is also in the code that teach financial education. So it includes working with public, private, and nonprofit. It says that teach financial education. It also says that are interested or have interest in blah, 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 a bunch of
Okay.
other stuff, but I think that's enough that teach financial education. That's the crux of
Okay.
what I think then goes on to. all
So
the
you're
other stuff.
speaking in favor of the motion.
I'm speaking in favor of the
Thank
motion.
you. Member Green?
Maybe to the maker of the motion. I'm just trying to understand where that line is of who would and would not be able to be sourced to teach. Like, does a bank teach?
To the
I'm
maker
sorry
of the
if I-
motion?
So I have in small towns had banks teach like the Dave Ramsey course or something to that effect. I've experienced that. Sometimes faith-based institutions will teach financial literacy courses, but to be honest, I don't know that I have seen that in this urban area or experienced that here, but I can't say that it does not happen.
Okay. Does that answer your question?
I'm just wondering if to teach financial education narrows that way down to, I don't know, who we'd want to reach in order to develop it. It seems those that are teaching financial education are also associated with selling a product. I don't know, like maybe Primerica Insurance, that you go through all the courses. I'm just wanting to make sure that this doesn't narrow because a small business person will know nuances of all of those. Maybe that somebody in those other areas wouldn't necessarily know. I don't know. I just feel like connecting with that level of industry could be beneficial. So I'm a little hesitant on
Okay.
that part of the amendment.
Thank you. Member Lear? Member Lear?
Well, I'm just, if this says this is exactly language from the code and it's nonsensical, I'll live with it. But it's nonsensical because banks don't teach. Maybe bankers teach or employees of nonprofits teach. So it just troubles me semantically. But if it's in the code, I'll live with it. I just think that, and it also narrows it. Given what Member Kelly is saying, he's worked with bankers, and that doesn't mean they have an education background. They're just bankers. Maybe they teach Sunday school. Does that count?
Well,
But-
we did say,
I know.
we did say that instead of who, so we are acknowledging that they are.
That's helpful, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if this is from the code, if somebody's telling me that is the language in the code.
It is apparently the language in the code. All right, I am not hearing any amendments, so we're to the point where we would be ready to vote.
Well, somebody else. And now I'm hearing that.
Oh, hold on. Are you
'cause
not
I'm still
finished?
not finished.
Oh,
Now
sorry.
I'm hearing that actually that teach financial education is not in that, it's in a different section. It's not connected to nonprofit entities.
So do you have an amendment or?
Well, not without, I guess I can just say, strike what Christina is just
Well, that
proposing.
would be called a no vote, so I think we're still ready to vote.
That's why I don't have an amendment.
But in the meantime, Member Davis, did you have something
The banks teach.
that you'd like to speak to, or are you in line?
Amendment. It just needs to be moved. Oh, you're not? Oh, no. Well, that language is in the task force section. So it might need to be adjusted.
Okay, so do you have an amendment, or is Member Earl? I know.
So, and once again, the sections, if you're looking at the different sections here, this is the professional development opportunities. And I guess the idea, I think as Carol had stated, or Board Member Lear, that it's broader because they may be consulting about different things, not necessarily teaching, but that they're providing professional development. But certainly, I hadn't thought that close where it need to sit, but it could, that line could be duplicated and then added down further where we're actually putting the task force. The task force is where it talks about those that are actually teaching these principles in order that they can help put together the standards. Am I articulating that right? Versus up above where if we limit it to just teachers, we're not getting a broad financial background in it.
Okay.
So I guess I mean, I would make I guess I could make a motion. Would it be a motion to amend?
Well, it would be, this is an amend to an amendment. Amendment to an amendment is allowed unless we've already had.
I would just leave the public-private nonprofit entity, but then also move the public-profit nonprofit that teach financial education. I would put insert a line that would use that same, I guess it would probably be, tell me if I'm wrong, CD, because we added a C, D, that just would specify who we're looking for in that area.
So could you, for the purposes of,
Yeah, I
yes, could you articulate to Director Rasmussen what it is
Yes,
that
so
we're adding on D?
That line on D would just indicate the members. So members could include, I don't know, maybe this is getting messy. Do we already have a
It would be very messy because you're messing with the subject.
I know. Okay, it already says 82 and 83. Let's see, financial task force shall have the membership and general responsibilities outlined in subsection 53E. So it already articulates that, but it doesn't break it down. So I guess there's no need for it.
There's no need for it.
Yep.
Okay, so you would draw the amendment. We are back to the original amendment. Chair Hymas?
Yeah, can I just say, sorry, I was going to abstain because I missed the first part of the conversation, but it's been ongoing. Well, and that's why I'm thinking, guys, it's okay to say no on these. It won't be rude to Christina, right? Or Member Bogus. I'm observing here, and I think sometimes this, and again, this is just me now speaking. I think sometimes we get emotion, we don't like it, and so instead of voting no, we try to make it better, and then it just makes things muddy. And if we have things to move forward, that's great, but I think it's okay to say no sometimes. I'm speaking against this motion. We'll talk later. And anyway.
Okay, thank you very much. Member Kelly.
I'm sitting next to Chair Member Bogus, so I'm going to be very careful in my choice of words here. This is dealing with professional development. This is working with teachers, right? And I do worry that this language narrows it. Dave Ramsey has curriculum out there, so can I only bring in Dave Ramsey consultants that have curriculum to work with professional development for our teachers, or could we bring in the president of Zions Bank, who doesn't necessarily have a specific financial literacy curriculum, but has the professional background to really do a good job of training teachers? So I do feel like this language narrows it, and I would speak against the motion.
All right, excellent. Let's vote. And don't turn your light on because I'm not calling on it. It doesn't matter. We just have to vote. All right, you can ask her later. Do you need to ask her in order to vote? Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. Well, the vote's going to stand. Yeah. She has a point of information.
Oh, it's red.
Yeah, let me announce the vote first so that we can close the item out. That vote fails with 2 yeses, 13 noes. The yeses being Member Davis and Member Bogus. Now, point of information. Go ahead, Member.
Well, the only,
Green.
I guess I just ran across 4B4 on 505. It's a lot of numbers. It does say private or public entities that teach financial education.
In the task force.
But that's the task force. Okay, all right.
So we're all good.
Okay,
Next
we're good. Moving
up,
on.
Yep. Next up, the underlying motion. Oh, this is like heartburn. Never goes away. All right. The motion is that the board approve R277-704, Financial and Economic Literacy Integration into Core Curriculum, Draft 2, as amended, and beat to death. There are consequences to votes. There are. Even if it's Harvard. All right, we're waiting just for one more. All right, with a vote of 14-1, the no being Member Bogus, that passes. That item is complete. It is all yours, Chair.
Thank you.